Have you ever thought about what you are afraid the most in life? This is what we're going to talk today. And whatever you fear the most, it's just the obstacle or what you want the most. Those go hand in hand. And I can share this from my own experience. I feel part of what I am here and what led me to here. It was to embrace my psychic part. It was what I was the most afraid of. First of all, when I was 3 or 4, I realized that it wasn't safe to tell people that I could speak with dragons and fairies and stuff like that because no one could see them. And you begin to hear the first, you shouldn't, that should not be, that's crazy, that's a lie. And then you begin to create your own limits on what you can be. And fear will be in the other side of the unlimited way. That is what we are here for, to unleash the potential. So, going back into that little girl that thought it was a lie or it was not a common thing and wanted to be like everyone else, I remember that I shut down that mystic part because it was supposed to be a lie. So maybe it is. And when that happened, you begin to copy limited beliefs from other persons. So take a second to think what it is what I am most afraid of in life. Because fear could be a positive thing, but when we overthink it, it's just a box that put us into the comfort zone. And go back into, do I have something? It was something that I created myself, or I saw it someplace, or someone said that to me, and then it became part of my personality. And going back to my own journey, I had a type of intervention. So I began seeing beings out of the blue in a psychology retreat. It wasn't something mystical. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't working on myself. I don't think I believe in God or anything that would be outside of science at that point. And when you have something like that, it's scary, but at the same time, it's beautiful. So this is another type of fear. There are some fears that are scary, but they are scary because they're unknown for us. You haven't been there. It's the first time, so you have no facts. They'll prove to your ego that that's a safe way, but it doesn't mean it's a bad experience for you. So imagine this. You don't think on anything psychic. You forgot about that part. You are way old, and then you see angels out of the blue, and then you see, hey, did you see the wings? There are many. I don't see anything. And then I said, like, oh God. And then I said, I'm the only one seeing this, right? But then when I close my eyes and give it a try, it was peaceful, as if I was being teletransported into another place. And then I was like, oh. And then I opened my eyes. And then I would compare what everyone was experiencing. I was the only one seeing this. And with eyes open, I could see kind of like lens flares when you are blinded by the sun, that you see lights, but there are sunlights, right? And then you cannot see. So I'll close my eyes and then I'll see all of those faces looking at me, so peaceful. And I was like, that you don't know how to explain. You cannot tell anyone. It doesn't feel real. You don't know what's going on. Maybe you're crazy. I said to myself, but even if I'm crazy, it's a good crazy. So I let go. And this is the first step that I want us to take in consideration. Explore your fear. Just give it a try to see what feels like and how you adapt it. I realized that I could ask questions. And then I would have, because I was in outdoors, I could have rain or the rain will stop. or then like a very strong wind would just dazzle over me. And I said, oh my God, this is like yes or no. And I asked questions, and that was it. And then it was gone. I don't even remember what I asked. But then when I went out and told people, they said, that cannot happen. Don't tell anyone. You can take your kids away, right? And I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell anyone. I moved forward. But then I kept seeing stuff. This is scary. So as someone. And then that person kind of explained to me what was happening. And then I realized there were many people having experiences like me, but I didn't have the answers. Because normally when you want answers from your ego. You want to know the A, B, C, D, E. And your fear won't talk to you in that way because it's something that it's made for us. We have different fears to different things. Some people can be afraid to heights, and others can love to go up to the mountain and then just have this adrenaline of being on top. So for one person can be something scary, but for another can be something thrilling. This is why I said that we made them up. Their fears are going to be positive. When they teach you and train you that you can turn life from simple to extraordinary. And I think it is when you accept life as it is, things happen. And sometimes you won't have a chance to change it because it's outside of you. Like, let's say there is fire, right? You cannot erase that, but you can change how you react. And when you overthink it, see, this is sin. It's fire. And then you got an anxiety attack. That wouldn't serve you either because maybe that can damage you or the ones you love. But if you calm yourself, allow fear to speak and say, hey, you should cover your mouth. You should go out, call the 911 or anything you need to do, then in this case, fear will be the solution of a situation that may put your life in danger. So explore your fear. Disregard the ones that are just voices from society, from family, from childhood, that is just the wound speaking, bleeding, that don't have really foundation about a limit that has been placed in your personality for some reason. Second, embrace your trials. Life is meant to have trials and challenges because it's how we choose what we want, what we don't want, and where we want to go. Otherwise, it will be like driving just in the same velocity all the time. But maybe there is no space and there is no one and there is no reason for you to go slow. You can accelerate. And maybe you can choose to turn left or right or just move direction, and that's okay. And this is what challenges and trials are meant for, are meant to be ups and downs and turns in which we can redesign where we want to be and what potentials we can find, going back to the unlimited version of what we can be. And when you explore your fear, this is how you redesign it from psychology. And a technique that I like is the tapping because you honor your fear. You cannot lie to your fear because otherwise it'll be just like eating the icing cake, but leaving the cake aside, right? But when you honor your fear and accept it, you are in the cake, in the core. But then you are able to have a new perception about it. And going back to what scared me the most, that it's being psychic. And I don't think being psychic, I think it was that others would knew I was psychic and how they would validate me or judge or critique or if I was going to be accepted. You make a lot of stories. Taking a few years in the future, I learn, I study, I embrace it. And I embrace it by being afraid, having been saying like, hey, wake up, look at me. And some of them were amazing, and others were horrifying and scary. And I went from all of the stages, from being paralyzed, being upset, crying, trying to fix it, having empathy, right? For the shadows, and trying a million things, thinking I was broken or in a need to fix. When in reality, I just need to reconcile with that part of me and then understand it. Because when you understand something that is challenging for you, you're able to find a solution because you change that from a problem to a circumstance. When you do that, it's in your hands to solve it. And that's amazing. Because when we have that capacity to understand your fear and to vision a solution or possible solutions, you begin the trial experience. You begin to going from option A to option B to option C, and then you redesign a pathway to integrate a new wisdom in you. And this is a gift that fear could bring into our life. We can bring wisdom from joy, from peace, from any emotion. But when we are able to transform this wisdom from fear into something that could be functional for us or for any other, then that becomes part of your toolkit. And in my case, after trying not to be psychic and how to deal with it, I was able to see them, but I couldn't understand. They would talk to me, and I didn't know what they were saying because the language was not a language that I would spoke. And I wanted to connect or them gone because I had a lot of curiosity. And I remember that one day I said, you know what? I'm not gonna try to fix it. I'm gonna let it just be because maybe I need to go into the bottom of it. So normally when I had an entity, I would just clear myself, invoke 1,000 angels, and then I would just assume that it was just gone, and then another will come back, another will come back, another will come back. And then I said, you know what? What if I stay with it to see how I can solve it? So I stayed with my entity for 3 days. It was painful. I was going for all different emotions. I was emotionally devastated. And I went from all of the stages of grieving, I assume. And at the end, I was in neutrality. And my entity looked like my version of a Halloween, I guess. Kind of like a dark wedding woman, right? I don't know. She had like a dark veil on it and like white skin and dark hair. And it was scary. It was like a scary movie thing, like a ghosty thing. And I remember that I see it, I meditate, and then I said, okay, why are you here? And I was calm for the first time in 5 months. And then she lifted the veil off and looked at me in a scary form. And then she said, for you not to be afraid of. And I was like, oh, it's just the heavy thing that I have been fighting for all of those years. It was gone. I was like, oh my God, all of that battling for nothing. Because it was just my fear represented into scary things. And when I had a realization, I saw that light came from my heart into her, and then she just disappeared, become light. And I was just like, oh my God, I felt silly. It was like nonsense. All of those rituals and steps to fix something that it did that needed to be fixed. It was energy that I wasted, that I could have used it for many other things, for joy, for peace, for growing. And after that, I have never had any problem with any entity. They stop coming. And occasionally I'll have one, and then I will see that I had protection already. When before that, I was just myself, and then I would say, who's with me? Angels, who is a dragon? Something, please appear, right? And then because I would see that I was alone, that was more scary. And then you can actually end yourself being paralyzed or having anxiety attack or crying or being upset because we escalated. And I said we because we can all have all of those episodes for whatever reason. It could be your ex, it could be your boss, it could be your mom, it could be the economy, or whatever your fear is. After that, I began interacting with them and I said, okay, no one can come unless I know who it is, why are you here, why is my lesson, and how can get rid of you if I don't like you. And then I will see that they will ask for permission, and then I will see that I have hands of guides or angel wings or type of protection. And I was like, oh, so it's all taken care. But sometimes fear, I think it's like a blindfold that do not allow us to see good things in life and what could be right, because we just place our awareness into what can go wrong. And that's happened because fear sometimes is overanalyzed. And the more you analyze it, the more wrong that could happen will appear, because that's the job of the ego. It's like a very overprotector mother or father. You will look for facts that may not happen, but it could, from a movie, from the news, from a family, from someone you know because someone told you. And when we realize it's a whole scary story that stop us from living life. So let's go back to thinking on whatever you are afraid of. From my own experience, fear, when you change the perspective from where you are looking from, remember that in the past video, we're talking about the I am of the I am. It's where you are looking from, because in reality, we're all that it is. When you change from that perspective and try to see it as if it's not happening to me, it's just happening, sometimes we're able to lower the intensity of it. Let's say that someone is screaming at you, and that's scary. But if you said, this is something I practice to me, let's say that you say, John, it's yelling at me, and that was scary. Maybe you can say, John is yelling. You take at me, he is yelling, and that's scary. And then you can say, John is yelling, but I realize it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with whatever he's going on. And when you begin to having that inner dialogue with yourself, you realize that you can find new perspectives for the energy that you perceive from a situation. And especially when this is something that has to do with someone else, because maybe you're able to choose for John and to say, hey, stop screaming. Maybe he will scream more. Like when you say, kid, don't cry, and then like increase the crying. But we can choose how to react upon that situation. And this solution is hard to see with clarity or calm when we are engaged with the situation. But if you go back to yourself, maybe you can say to that person, like, hey, let's not talk about this right now because you are screaming. I'm going to come back and then we discuss it. Or you can try to see a calm or wait. There are a lot of million options for you to unlimit the potential of what an unpleasant situation could come. But in this case, for us to see that, we have to go back to our own center, what feels safe. Many of the fears come from not feeling safe, from feeling not capable, or that's not possible. And this is the other step that I add today. So the first is explore your fears. The second is accept life as it is because things will happen out of the blue. But when you accept them, you change them from problem to circumstance, and then you can solve them. The third part it is believe in you. Believe that you can turn anything simple from something extraordinary. I'm sure you know persons that have had things that happen to them that have been horrifying, and they shift them into something positive and something great. Like, for example, Mahatma Gandhi, or so many persons that maybe you know that have become an example about how they flip the coin into something positive. And I'm not saying that those things should happen for you to transform. We have all different ways to transform yourself and to learn. You can also learn so much from joy and from peace. But all of those are the flavors of life. When you believe in what you can do, it's like jumping on a pool, knowing that you will learn how to swim one way or another. And this is where you are going to give yourself permission to explore your fear, to embrace a trial, and to trust on yourself. And at the same time, with the confidence on what you can do, it's part of taking the judgment on failure because failure is just part of the journey, but it's not something that should be put in a box as a mistake or wrong, because sometimes wrong things end being amazing things. Like when I was showing that doctor said you have cancer, and I was like, oh, do I remember? Now that I go back, I reflect that, thank God, it wasn't something that it was very grave like other persons have gone through. But for me, I needed that slap on my face, so I will do something with my life. And I think I have turned into something positive. So don't see fear as the enemy. See it more like something that was created for some reason. And it's just an obstacle that we have the power to move or to transform and to replace it for something that will make life better and greater. And maybe life don't get easier, but we get wiser. And if we get wiser, then that feels good. That have a sense of completeness at the end of journey or in whatever part of journey you are. And seeing that from that perspective, when you get tested, and you can go back in your memory and see when I get tested, how do I react? Do I get frustrated? Do I cry? Do I get all over the place? Do I get anxiety? Right? Do I get upset? Do I begin screaming at everyone? Notice how your I'm not in my 5 minutes of rainbow react. And from that perspective, begin negotiating with your wound to see what you can do and begin by trying different ways of being in those situations until you finally figure out how to deal with that. And for me, going back to being psychic and seeing beings that I didn't know they exist, the way I figured out it was drawing them. I began to draw them and I realized that if I couldn't listen to the being, I could observe the image as an art, and then art will say something. Will reflect emotion. Being will seem happy or sad or surprised or something. I was like, oh, I realized that the colors will reflect something, darkness or lightness or a type of magicality. I realized that maybe if the bean gas had a tool on it, like let's say some of them had like a candle or a book or a crystal, and then I said, oh, it has a tool on it, maybe that's the message. And then at the end, I'll come with an overall message like it feels as if it was an angel and had a candle, so I think he's bringing the light for me. So that's a good thing. And then I begin making my way through it. And when we're able to do that, we integrate the knowledge, because knowledge is not because when we went to school or the books we have read, it's just from the experience, because you went through, you know what feels like, and you master it. And when we're able to have that security and what we can do, is when life feels unlimited, because fear don't paralyze you. You can have your knees shaking, but you still go through. And it has happened, I'm sure to many of you, it has happened to me. And at the end, when you go through, that fear may shift into excitement, or yes, into excitement for saying, oh my God, I did it. It was good. I did it. I was not sure I was able to go through, but at the end, it's just like, in taking something fearful into that journey, it becomes the jewels of life and part of the treasures. I always said when I have clients or for myself, I think in our shadow, it's a map for us to discover our treasure, our mission, what we're good at it, what it is our magic, what we're good that we don't even know we're good at it, because it's what we don't know how to do. And everyone will have that. And everyone maybe will have a type of bottle. And it's okay, because life, it's an experience. Sometimes there are battles that are greater than other, and it's part of what anyone could be choosing to have or how to embrace according to your own beliefs. Let's not get into detail into that, but just using logic and common sense. If that is something you don't know how to do, and you don't feel secure, confident, or safe to do that, but you still feel drawn to do that, and you're not able to take that away, it must be something that you should explore and give it a try. And from that perspective, when you're able to transform them, it's when I feel those fears become your jewels. In my own experience, it has been. When I went through the psychic part, I realized that I love it. I realized that I was able to merge all of the things I have studied before. I realized that I could met a lot of amazing people with magical things, that I was not the only one. I realized that we're all special, and that that uncertainty, it wasn't a bad thing. It was actually a great plan. I didn't know that my soul put on my journey. And now it feels like a blessing. It feels like the mission is more like learning how to be me and how to explore in all of the things I can keep unlocking new levels of what I can be. And this is the main thing from these podcasts. I want us to go together into what we could be, what else we could become, and be identifying all of things are no longer need to be, that are invisible walls that someone says that we taught, that really are just a comfort zone. But instead of the comfort zone, could be something that take you into something very, very, very good. And there are going to be things in life that will have maybe a degree of being scary that you will never be ready, like having a kid. I mean, who's ready to have a kid? Even when you think you are ready and you go through the experience, if you have ever had that, things are going to come, and you don't know all of the things that could that experience bring to you. But if you don't give it a try, you will never know the beautiful side of it. And this is just an example. It could be purchasing a house, it could be doing a new company, it could be changing your profession, it could be moving from another country. Whatever that could go wrong for you is shifted into what if this goes right, and just give it a try. Just to summarize, identify What are your fears? And notice that maybe all of those fears are going to have similarities and meet in the middle and the main one. Explore it. You don't need to go into a silent retreat and seen as the enemy, but just reflect on it and ask the part of you that is divine, whether that it is in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, whatever you think, in your own beliefs, to show you the way to make peace with that part. Embrace your trials and learn to have new ways for you to go through life with a new perception that may be better than the one you tried before, because if the one you tried before did not work, why we're going to keep repeating that? Give yourself the opportunity to make life greater than how it has been by unlocking all of those potentials for you to be. And at the end, be truly aware that all that can go right, it's a desire. It's where your unlimited being is where the way to your infinity is. And if you read biography of persons that have done amazing things, you will notice that they went into the extraordinary. They went into what no one thought they could do. But for that, you have to believe. Take whatever you feel resonate with you and disregard the rest. Sometimes stories need to bounce a little bit for us to have a conclusion. And fears is not something that we should be just paralyzed, because it doesn't feel good. I have been there and I know it's not a good place to be. If it's something that's greater than your own conclusions and you feel you need to look for some professional support, then it's always good to ask for help when you don't know how to deal with something. But don't allow yourself to be in the space when you're paralyzed and cannot move about it. Give yourself, whether someone assists you or you know how to do it, to go out and embrace that trial. I hope you guys like it and benefit from it. We're gonna keep engaging with these ways to go unlimited, and at the same time, like, comment, support if you like the unlimited way. See you guys in the next video. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye. If you are enjoying our content in the unlimited way, then this information is for you. In August 2023, in Encoded Frequency, we are starting a workshop for weeks to activate your abundance. The purpose it is to address each area of your life: spirituality, love, finances, and relationships. At the same time, you can learn more about how to bring that unlimited frequency in every area of your life. Abundance is not only about one thing, it's about all you are, all you can be, and all you would like to redesign for yourself. So if you would like to know more, then visit my website at encodedfrequency.com.